you can't avoid people centralizing around certain tactics. The more competitive the game too, the more likely you're gonna see it. We live in an age where people say Soul is not a good character. Think about that. That's the extent of how like competitive people are getting with what characters they feel like they need to play in order to win. That is like the peak gamer shit though, because like someone was like, Geo was inevitable for LK. He's working half as hard for the results. I think that's the gamer in people are thinking about that, because gamers like memeing, dude. All these games, someone tells you how to meme it, and then you're like, oh shit. But in fighting games, you have the extra aspect of, you know, there's someone you have to play against, and you don't know how far a character can go. And the more technical the character is, the longer I think it takes for people to determine. This is why I got so tight over when I posted the video about playing Geo, and like some of the comments. This is why I got so tight of people being like, dude, we told you. You didn't tell me shit. You lost fast, and then you said she sucked. Where for that type of character, you need to really push, because for the most part, to my knowledge, I think there's only 2 versions of Millia where people are like, yeah, she's super good, like right away. Most of the time, it's not like that. Or like, as someone who plays BlazBlue, right? Like, I played Lychee for like BBCT to BBCP. Every version except for one, people are like, she's trash. Except for one. There was one version where they were like, yo, what the fuck? But all the other versions, they're like, she's trash. You don't know. You're making an educated guess. And if you think you know, you should try playing the lottery or investing in stocks, because you could be using your clairvoyance to make a shit ton of money instead of going into YouTube comments and arguing about characters. You could be doing something very productive. I think for simple characters, you can push, but you can tell pretty quickly. But for technical characters, like, you really need to just give them the time. Jacko has a high skill floor. I think everyone agrees on that. Once you conquer this skill floor, you basically meme people. And what is the meme? You hit them, you get the minion, you build some meter, and then you patty cake on them until they die. And that's just what you do. There are other characters, so like say Nago, right? Nago, you kind of, you press S, you press H, you do Beyblade. When you do Beyblade, you play a quick guessing game. When you're in front of them, you have a couple guessing games you play. It's hard to hit them, but when you hit them, you do a lot of damage. So most people are like, it's easier for me to whiff a lot of buttons with Nago and hit them sometimes and do a lot of damage, then get over the skill for this character and then have this super strong win condition. Like, what's the point? Like, it takes more effort to do this than that. But one, maybe that player wants to put that effort, and 2, the reward for doing it is not as direct as you would think. So when people are like, oh, you're doing no damage, looping makes up some Millia, I'm like, my main trade is like, I barely have to interact with my opponent. Like, they have to take this, where like I'm the only one doing shit. Like I just have to check for meter maybe, and then like if they play a character that's good against it, then yeah, I need countermeasures in advance. But most characters I'm chilling, big chilling. Jacko, you get him in the corner, clap clap, nothing you can do but burst ORC if you have the resource. If you don't have the resource, you're a spectator. Everything is just what you want to do. So if you're the type of person who says, what's the point when I can just do this, then you should just do that. You just do that and show people. I've switched characters like that too, by the way. There have been times where I'm like, I don't want to do this. These characters do this, so I'm going to do that. I've done that in BlazBlue. I've done that in Dragon Ball. I did that in Melee. I've done that in a couple games. So you just need to do it and not argue about it. I always felt like that's such a weird lane to go in, but then like it makes sense because most people who play video games don't like hard stuff, or like putting work into stuff. Like BlazBlue, if you play a technical character, I feel like in this game all the technical characters are top tier. I don't necessarily think a technical character should just be top tier just because they're hard. We talked about this a lot of times, so I don't actually excuse bullshit tactics behind things like execution or like skill floor and stuff. If it's unfair, it's unfair, and like I think someone's gonna learn it. At the same time, I also don't ascribe to like that type of what's the point so quickly until like the characters are developed better. It's a weird thing about what you want to do and why in the end. It just kind of gets me when people are like, we knew that it was like this, and I'm like, you didn't know. You didn't know, you guessed. That's just crazy. You guessed. Anytime I talk about Millia in a video though, and I get those comments, I get tight. That's like one of the only things that makes me tight. So like for new characters especially, new characters in new games, you're basing it off your current knowledge and not of what can be. When we're 1 year in the game and we're like, oh, this because of this, that's one thing. I think still for some characters, like when I talk about like Jacko, for example, I think people still underrate. There are characters that people still underrate like a significant amount. Most people are good at picking characters, but it's because of their thought of, I need to do something that's easy and strong. There are obviously a ton of other reasons why you can pick characters, between aesthetics, maybe you like their combo. There's all sorts of reasons you can pick a character. But if you're just talking about like people who are talking about how good or bad a character is, a lot of it is those type of people are good at figuring out something that's easy and good. But because they have that approach, they can't totally see when future characters are good when they're not easy. Best example, Happy Chaos, by the way. For Strive, best example is Happy Chaos for sure. You guys have any thoughts about that? I don't know. I kind of was just in my head.